So today we're going to be talking about the driver, and I would suggest this is the most important club in the bag for most amateur golfers. Now there'll be a few of you that are pretty good with the driver, but the majority of amateur golfers lose too many golf balls, lose distance, and just get frustrated with it. And what I'm going to talk about today is two things, if you like, two movements that you need to incorporate into your swing to have success with the driver. Now, what happens with the driver is it's longer, okay? And I'm sure you've noticed that. It's a much longer club, and the shaft of the golf club sits much shallower, so it sits much lower down. Now, because the club is much longer, we effectively need more width, okay? Now, what happens with the shorter clubs, things like your pitching wedge and possibly even up to a 7-iron, if I just grab it for a moment, because it's a shorter club, okay, you can kind of get away with, I would say, poorer technique. Now, the most common poor technique is steepness in the downswing, standing up, okay? Now, from the face-on perspective, as I'm facing you, because this is where I want to concentrate our attention, if I do the same motion, so I swing up and I get a little bit this way, which essentially just means I kind of coined the term spinny, which means my trail hip comes forward, my head gets almost in front of the ball. You can see the way my hands take a very direct route towards the golf ball like so. And again, from the side-on perspective, that basically means like this. Now, because the 7-iron is so short, I can stand up and still get the club to the back of the golf ball. So it wouldn't be the most efficient way of hitting it, but I can get away with it. The problem with the driver is because the sheer length of it is, as I do this, okay, I might be able to really extra lean back and add that width in, but you're not going to control the club face. And if you start standing that club up in that hit massively, you're just going to veer off into massive slices. So it's the same swing, if you like. So whatever you learn out of this video, you can incorporate into your irons as well. Now, what's the big thing? The big thing is width. Like I said, you can't afford to start your downswing moving like this, where the hands come too direct towards the golf ball like so, and we get the head moving like this. And I'm dramatizing this, but to an effect, that is what I see in a vast proportion of golf lessons that come particularly with driver. So what's the fix? Well, the fix really could be a little bit in your backswing, but you also need to be thinking about your downswing. And the difference you see is when we get set up with the driver, we might, we'll create a bit of a tilt because we'll move the ball further forward. And what's really important is in the backswing is to get that sort of proper backswing rotation. So to get a proper chest rotation in the backswing, so it creates a tilt. And a tilt basically just means if you drew a line vertically through my lead hip, you can see my spine is angled away. Now the reason why that's important is because if I now start my downswing and I move progressively towards my left-hand side, so my head and my hip move, my hands would work like so. Okay. Now if I move this way, see my spine's now more vertical, see my hands come too direct towards the ball. Now, what I see with most amateurs is in the backswing position is the spine ends up really vertical like so. And the problem when you end up really vertical and you start your downswing, you end up this way. So checkpoint number one is get that chest rotation, get that load in towards that right leg or your trail leg in the backswing position, and you should feel like so. Okay, you should feel like you're getting that weight in that right hand side. Now, because you've got your tilt, what I'm then saying is you can move left and you can move everything left, as long as your lower body is leading. And what I mean by this is it's not upper body leading. See the way that I'm moving left, but my lower body goes into the imaginary wall first because that maintains my tilt. My hands can then work on this type of pathway here, and that means that the club can naturally downcock. And from the side-on perspective, that would look like this, as opposed to this. And that's a real priority, okay? And as you become better with the driver and you get rid of that sort of potential fadey slice and you can potentially turn it more into a draw, which we'll come to, then you can start looking to incorporate rotation in the same movement as well. But you have to avoid this because this is your killer move. So by understanding the importance of the tilt, like so, and by understanding maintaining the tilted structure as you start the downswing, it gives your hands width instead of steepness, and it also gives the club coming down not so vertical, more on plane. The last piece to the puzzle then is just closing that face. And you do need forearm rotation. It's amazing how many people I'm meeting that come in for lessons now that have watched a lot of instructional videos or been given tips or just misinterpreted information where they genuinely think all they have to do is just keep that club face square, and you know, you have to release. There has to be an element, depending on your grip style, depending on how much rotation you have, there has to be an element of forearm rotation to get the face square. And the easiest way to do this is hold the club out in front of you, okay? Sort of swing it back, bring it down, and you'll notice that you'll need forearm rotation to get the face square. You can't do this to get it square. You have to do the forearm rotation. So do some baseball swings, get that kind of club face closure. And if you can match the both of those together, then you are certainly going to have a golf swing which is going to have a vast amount more consistency. And those are the key things. Understand that tilt, maintain that tilted structure, get that club face rotation, and you'll convert that horrible sort of weak slicey shot into something which is much more sort of penetrating, less spinny, and potentially even more draw bias, which is kind of what we're after when it comes to the driver. Let me know how you guys get on. I'll catch up with you again really soon.